Hello friends, I hope everyone is doing great. In this video, we will understand how we can calculate the time complexity with the Big O notation along with some examples of linear and constant time complexity calculation. I have described the time complexity in detail in my previous video, that is, the second video in this data structure and algorithm series. If you have not watched it yet, I would recommend to watch that video first to understand this concept easily. I'll also put the link to that video in the description box. Okay, let's have a quick recap about the time complexity. As written here, it is the computational way that describes the amount of time it takes to run an algorithm, or we can say how the runtime of a function behaves as the size of the input increases, right? And also, we discussed in the previous video that time complexity is estimated by counting the number of elementary operations performed by the algorithm, assuming that each elementary operation or steps takes a fixed amount of time to execute. I know these are few heavy words. Let's understand this with an example. Let's say we have an input list and we want to calculate the sum of all the elements in this list. This given list or array can be of any length. It can be 100 element long or 1000 elements long or even 100,000 elements long. So here we have this Python function and I have named it as calcsum that takes this list as input and returns the sum of all the elements in this list. Let's quickly see what are we doing inside this function. Here we have a variable sum initialized to 0 and then it's going in the loop where each element in this given list is getting added to this variable sum and I is for each element in this list. In the end of this function we are returning sum and in this way we will be able to find sum of all the elements in this list. Now let's see for time analysis or to predict how much time this function will take as we change the input size. What we need to do? We will calculate the number of steps or operations in this function with an assumption that each statement is taking 1 unit of time or we can say constant time. So by step, what I mean is that the statement like variable sum getting initialized to 0 is considered as a step or we can also call it an operation as well. And this step is supposed to take 1 unit of time. This step does not depend on the input size and always takes same constant amount of time for its execution. It does not matter what the value of input size is. Like sum equal to 0 always take the constant amount of time only. Even if we have a statement like sum equal to 10 times a plus 20 times b, we consider that it takes only 1 unit of time. Okay, though in reality, when we convert this into a program, it runs total 4 steps, 2 for multiplication, 1 step each for addition and assignment. But we are not going in that detail and we simply analyze and say each statement takes 1 unit of time for understanding time complexity at the basic level. Another thing to note is that we have a loop in this function, a for loop. We will analyze the time taken by this for loop by frequency count method. And that method says that the time taken by the algorithm can be calculated by assuming 1 unit of time for each statement. And if any statement is repeating for some number of times in a loop, then the frequency of execution of that statement will calculate the time taken by the loop. Let's understand this with example. Like here we have this statement sum plus equal to I inside this for loop, right? Now this for loop will run for n times. Consider n is the length of the input size, input list I mean. So this statement will also execute for n times and we say that this whole loop will in turn takes n units of time. I hope this concept is clear. If not, please pause here and take a moment to see what we have just discussed. As per this example, the time required will increase for bigger value of n and decrease for smaller values of n, right? This is how we calculate the time taken by the loops. So let's analyze the approximate time taken by this whole function. Sum equal to 0 is a simple statement and does not change with the change in the input size. It is taking 1 unit of constant time. Next we have the for loop, which will execute the statement sum plus equal to I for n times. So this loop will also take n units of time. Then in the end we have this return statement that also takes 1 unit of constant time. So total time taken by this function becomes n plus 2 units of time, where n is the size of the input list. Instead of trying to determine the specific execution time for each primitive operation, we will simply count how many primitive operations are getting executed and assume that each operation is taking 1 unit of time. At this stage, we can also say that the time function of this algorithm, that is fon, is equal to n plus 2, where n is the size of the input list. If we increase the element in the list, that is n, it will increase the number of steps in the algorithm and eventually would also increase the time of the function, that is fon in this example. Let's say n is equal to 0, which means that we have an empty list. Then also we have to perform initialization step and the return step, which in turn means that the function would take 2 units of time. And if n is equal to 20, the number of steps would be around 22, one each for initialization and return statement and 20 steps for the for loop. Similarly, if n is equal to 40, we can say that it will get executed in almost 42 units of time. Again, I am highlighting these are just the estimations and not the actual values. But in reality, something similar would happen. I hope that is clear to all of you. Okay, now if we observe carefully and plot these values on a graph, it would look like this slanting linear line, right? Where on the x-axis we have different values of n and on the y-axis we have time taken by the algorithm. So when the value of n is 0, it is showing time taken as 2 units. When the value of n is 20, it is showing the time taken around 22 units. And this graph is in turn showing the trend is going in a linear way, which is showing its linear behavior. So in conclusion, this function has a linear time complexity, which means with increase in the input size, the time required for executing the algorithm would also increase in a linear way. Okay, now let's take another example where we need to find the first element of the given input list. Let's take the same list that we have in our last example. Okay, so our function would return the first element of this list, that is 3 here in this example of input list. We have this function named as getFirst to get the first element of the list. Now let's analyze this function for calculating the time complexity. Here we have just one statement, that is returning the first element of the input list. So it will perform one step and just take 1 unit of time, that is constant, for every run. Therefore time required is 1 unit of time and the time function, that is fon, is equal to 1. It doesn't matter how big or small the input list is, be it 7 elements long or 700, 7000 or 700,000 element long. In every run, this function would take only some constant time for finding the first element of the input list. When we plot the input size and the time required for this example, we will get this kind of graph, a straight line running parallel to x-axis, where we have time on y-axis which is constant with the increasing value of n that is plotted on the x-axis. So that means no matter what the value of n is, the execution time required is almost same every time and it is not increasing. This is showing constant time behavior, or we can say that constant time complexity. Likewise, we have more type of time complexities like quadratic, logarithmic, exponential, factorial and so on. Now expressing different type of time complexities with words like linear, constant and quadratic is little bit confusing and difficult, right? So we need a way to express different types of time complexity in a more mathematical or systematical way. And that is what big O notation is. So instead of telling this algorithm takes linear time or the behavior of this function is quadratic, we say big O of n for the linear, where n can take any value, and big O of 1 for constant. Notice this that constant time complexity is represented as big O of 1, where 1 inside the parenthesis is for standardizing the notation. It can be 2 or 20 or 200 inside the parenthesis depending on the algorithm. But by convention, for representing constant behavior, we use big O of 1. Similarly, quadratic time complexity can be expressed as big O of n square. Just by changing what is inside the big O parenthesis, we can denote different type of time complexities. As discussed in our last video, we mostly considered big O notation among the three asymptotic notations as it helps us in measuring mathematically the longest amount of time an algorithm can possibly take to complete. And whenever we are running an algorithm, the most important aspect with respect to execution time is how our execution time scales as the input gets larger and larger. That is why we care more about larger input than the smaller input, as when the input is small enough, the algorithm is probably not gonna take that much time, right? Therefore, in software industry, we focus more on big O notation than the theta and omega asymptotic notations. Okay guys, so in this video we understood how we can evaluate the time complexity of a function and different type of time complexities. I'll make a separate video on different types of time complexities and how we can express their time complexity in big O notation. And the next video that I'm planning to post in this series is very crucial, where we will go through various time functions and calculate their time complexity. I hope you liked this video. Please do let me know down below in the comment section what are your views, if you have understood it or if you have any more confusions or you want me to explain any topic in detail. Please do let me know. If this video has helped you, please give this video a thumbs up because it's very important that I get your feedback. And also do let me know if the sound quality is okay or not in these videos. It will help me to make them better for the future. Okay then, thanks as always for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep learning and take care. Thank you.